numbers that have a special formatting from a certain message. So let's say their phone numbers, social security numbers. In general, probably you need to do this to flag inappropriate messages. Like if you're trying to send an email, most email clients nowadays will warn you if you include a sensitive piece of information. So the question is asking us to write a loop that goes over the word in the secret message and then write another loop that goes over each character. If all characters are numbers or a dash, then the word is a number. We should print it. All right. So the first step is very similar to what we've done before. I'm going to split my message. Of course, we need to run this code here to each individual words. Next, I'm going to write a loop for each word in words. I'm going to print for now. That's just kind of a scaffolding to start. Okay. I don't want to print individual word. I only want to print these words. Now, in contrast to the email condition, which was only detected when one character is at, this condition is more strict. It's basically saying each character has to be either a number or a dash. So how do we do it? We need to go over each character and ensure that it's character or a dash. So one way to do it is to go for each character in word and do the opposite if it happens. So we can go over each character in the word, and if it's not a number or a dash, then we know for sure that the word is not a secret, well, one of these sensitive numbers. So to store this information, we need what we call a marker variable. So I'm going to start with the assumption that sensitive is true, and once I go over each character in the word, the moment I detect a character which is not a number or a dash, I can turn sensitive to be false. So I'm going to write a condition that tests whether the character is not a number or a dash. Let's think about this. What are the numbers, digits, 0 to 9, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9. So I can do something like this. If C is not in 0, 1, to 9, right? I can type all of them, or a dash, right? Well, of course, I have to type in all the numbers. We can proceed, right? But notice that C is also a string, so I don't need a list. I'm fine, I can type a list, but it's easier to do it like this. All numbers 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and a dash. So if C is not inside the string, then don't forget C is a character. I'm going over each character in the word. I'm going to turn sensitive to false. And once I go outside the loop, of course, I can at this point save some effort and break. This is not necessary because, the moment it's false, it can't get through again, but I can save some, extra loops, iterations, and break the loop. And outside, if sensitive, I can print word. Let's turn off the first print and run the code now, and you can see that I get the two words, sensitive words printed for me. All right, so first, starting from the assumption that sensitive is true, going over each word, each character in each word, and then the moment I notice that the character is not one of these, like for instance S or E here, then the word itself is not sensitive. Now once I'm done in my second loop, I test whether sensitive is true, which means all characters are digits or dashes. and then print word. Now here's a shortcut. Instead of doing this, actually Python provides a way for us to write an else part of loops. I mean, this may kind of seem and sound weird because it's one of the unique languages that has this feature. But the idea here is that you can think about your loop as an if statement, right, as we have seen. And if the if statement itself or the for, kind of condition in the while statement or the for loop itself doesn't finish, doesn't, all of its iteration and finishes, it can go to the if statement part, to the else part of that. All right, so let's take a look at a small example here and take a look at how we can apply it here. Let's do I is equal to 0, and while I is less or equal to 10, or less than 10, print I. Of course, I forget to increment I, so I get the infinite loop. Then increment I by 1, and I get numbers from 0 to 9. Now what happens when the loop finishes? When the loop finishes, I has a value of 10. Right, let me turn off the print here. Right? So the next time it goes into the loop, because I is 10, it breaks the loop. Again, we can think about this as an if statement. If this has been an if statement, if I is less than 10, then I can do something here like print I is 10 or something, right? Of course, in this case, I'm not going to print I is 10 because I start from 0. But let's say I start from 9. Then I get if else. The if else itself is still true. It doesn't go into the else. But let's say I start from 10. Then this if statement is false. And then I can print I is 10. That's the same idea here. If I have a while loop, when I have a while loop, it's like a condition. I go every time, and then I increase I. At some point in time, this condition is false, and when this condition is false, I'm going to go into the else part. So if I do this, I'm going to get numbers from 0 to 9. That's inside the while. And once this condition turns to be false, I print I is 10 now. Okay, so why is this useful? I mean, this is useful because it provides us a way for us to do something once the loop finishes. And this thing is also conditional on not explicitly breaking the loop. If I break the loop, it means the loop will not anyhow finishes its normal execution, so I don't go into the break part. Let's take an example here. In this loop, I go over each character in the word, and if the character happens not to be one of these, I break. Now, if all of the characters at the end of the loop are one of digits, all digits or dashes, then I don't break. It means I have the opportunity after the loop for an else branch. So here is another way to do it. Just notice the difference. I'm going to split, same thing. The only thing that I don't need is the sensitive marker. I'm going to go over each character, and this is my for. Now notice, imagine this is an if statement, and this is an else part of the statement, print word. It means that this else branch will only execute once this loop is over, and it's over normally. We don't break it explicitly, which means all of the characters are not sensitive, right? I don't need the marker variable again. So that basically will give me the same results, right? But without the marker variable. So this may be more familiar to you if you're coming to Python from a Java or C or C++, because that else statement doesn't go with loops. This one is more expressive if you manage kind of to internalize the fact that a loop is very similar to a condition in the sense that there's something that runs under a certain condition. In this case, as long as the list has more items to be processed. And once all of the items are processed, that condition is kind of false, so we have an else branch. Okay, so let's take a look at this exercise now. This one is asking us to print numbers from 1 to 31 and put the prefix 1 to numbers. So this is kind of like printing printing a calendar, month of January, 31 days. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to write, we can do it with a while, with a for a day in range 1 to 32. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to print day. I'm just double checking that my range is correct. And now I'm going to provide the prefix. There are many ways to do it. The easy way is to do a formatted string, since I want to format my string as 1-day. And in this case, I get 1-1 to 31. Alright, so that's good. Now it's asking us to print all days of all months. So the months go from 1 to 12. Obviously, some months are, not all months are 31 days, but we're not worried right now about, this issue. So how do we do it? This is an example of a nested loop. We need our loop here that goes over each day, but we need to nest this loop within another loop that goes over each month. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to indent this one to indicate that it belongs to another loop, and I'm going to do for month in range 1 to 13. Well, it goes from 1 to 12. For day in range 1 to 32, and then I'm going month dash day. And once I'm done a certain month, I'll probably print kind of a separator just to indicate that this month is done. So I'm going to print 10 dashes here. So that basically will print 1, January, February, right, March, and so on. Alright, so that's an example of a nested loop, a loop within a loop, which means that this loop, which goes over each day, will run for each month. Now, next, let's address the issue that some months are only 30 days and February is 28 days this year. I'm not sure. Is 2020 a leap year? That's a good question. So let's see. Leap year. If it's a leap year, then it's a 29 days. So that's right. 2020 is a leap year. So actually, February is 29 days. Okay. So here is our previous code. The point in here is to make this range dependent on the month, whether the month itself is 30 days or 31 days or 29 days. So what I'm going to do, to make this one, the length, the number of days, a variable, right? Of course, let's start with a kind of a scaffolding. So I'm going to do days is equal to 32. That's basically the same. The key in here to make days depend on the months themselves, right? So we have 31 day months in which days is 32. And let's deal with the remaining months. What are the months that are 30 days? So we've got April, right? We've got June, March, April, May, June. July and August are both 31 days, and then September, and then November. I'm going back to my school knowledge here. I should double check, but I'm pretty confident those are the 30 days months. January, February, March, April, June, July and August is 31 days, and then September and October. Okay. All right, so here's what I will do. I will test whether months is one of these. I can write a condition if months is equals to 4, or months is equal to 6, or months is equal to 9, or months is equal to 11. But the easy way to do it is to make this a list. If months is equal in this list, I'm going to set days to be 31, right? Because range will go, well, let's make it more expressive. I'm going to do here days is equal to 30 and range will be days plus 1. This makes the code more readable because the adjustment is happening when we call this function. Now, else if month is equals to February, of course, I mean, I can make this more sophisticated by looking at the year, which I don't have here. I'm going to set days to be equal to 29. Else days is equal to 31. I don't need it, it's the default, but I'm going to put it here anyhow here. Okay, now I determine the days, the number of days based on the months, and then the range itself will go from 1 to days, well, days plus 1 exclusive. So if I do this, we will see that I get January 31 days, February 29, March 31 days, and then April is 30 days and so on. Okay. Oops. So nested loops and a condition to dynamically kind of determine the number of days in a month. So this concludes this exercise. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll catch you next time.